Hi again, everyone. Welcome. Welcome again to the Denny ITS project construction drop-in session this afternoon. Thank you for joining us. I think we're probably going to go ahead and get started. Before we begin, I just want to go over some housekeeping for everyone. The format of today's online virtual event is we're going to kick off with a pre-recorded presentation about the project. And then we're going to follow that by with a question and answer session. We'll try to get to as many of the questions as we can before the end of the session. Please feel free to submit your questions in the Q&A icon. That's on the very bottom of your screen there. Let me see. Before we get started, let's talk about how we're going to participate. So I just shared with you about the Q&A button there. Please go ahead and use the chat function only for reporting any kind of technical difficulties or challenges you are experiencing. And that chat icon looks like a talking bubble. It's right next to the Q&A icon. Please note that we are going to be recording today's session so that we can share it with folks who are not able to join us this afternoon. We'll be posting this on the project webpage in the coming weeks. And again, thank you for coming and joining us this afternoon. Let's go ahead and get started with our pre-recorded presentation. Thank you. Hello and welcome to the Denny Intelligent Transportation Systems, or ITS, project construction drop-in session. My name is Ching Chan, and I'm the Communications and Outreach Lead for this project at Seattle Department of Transportation. Thank you for taking the time to join us today. The purpose of this presentation is to provide an overview of the project, share the anticipated schedule of what to expect during construction, and answer your questions. Today, I am joined by Josh Shippey, Project Manager, and Jeremy Wallman, Construction Engineer. Before we get started, I'd like to share our vision, mission, and core values. At Seattle Department of Transportation, we are guided by a vision of a thriving, equitable community powered by dependable transportation and a mission to deliver a transportation system that provides safe and affordable access to places and opportunities. We're committed to 6 core values: equity, safety, mobility, sustainability, livability, and excellence. In this presentation, we'll cover the following topics: why we're doing this project and where it's located, what features this project includes and its benefits, related work at Denny Park, what to expect during construction, minimizing construction impacts, what's next, and how to stay connected. At the end of this presentation, we'll open the floor for a question and answer session. Denny experiences some of the city's heaviest traffic volumes. To reduce congestion, this project will upgrade traffic signals and pedestrian push buttons along Denny Way between Western Ave West and Minor Avenue. Intelligent Transportation Systems, or ITS, are a suite of technology tools we use to improve the way people drive, walk, bike, or roll across the city. ITS tools play a key role in a safe, efficient, and innovative transportation system that works for all travelers. This project will take place along Denny Way from Western Ave West to Minor Ave. Our project elements are designed to improve safety and waiting times for people driving, biking, walking, or rolling. Elements include electrical conduits through street intersections, signal foundations and poles, a new dynamic message sign on the south side of Denny Way between Broad Street and 4th Ave, Americans with Disabilities Act or ADA compliant curb ramps at accessible pedestrian signal APS push buttons at some corners, and pavement restoration. ITS tools include monitoring devices like cameras, push button sensors, and wires are installed in the pavement to detect vehicles and bicycles on the road, as well as pedestrians at crosswalks. The monitors send real-time information to our Transportation Operations Center, enabling the operations team to effectively respond to traffic incidents 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Based on this information, signal timing will be adjusted as needed. Information is also communicated to the public and the media via our Travelers Information Map and Twitter feed. Real-time updates allow commuters to make more informed travel choices. Next, I'd like to hand it off to Josh to discuss more topics related to construction.
Thank you, Cheng. This project will have minor impacts on the southeast corner of Denny Park at the intersection of Denny Way and 9th Avenue. At this location, we will be installing a new accessible pedestrian signals, push buttons, and replacing the existing traffic signal cabinet with a new signal cabinet. Shown on the slide here are some examples of those that'll be installed. While most elements associated with this project aren't visible to the public, they provide several benefits to all travelers, including the improved safety for all modes of travel, reduced congestion during the peak hours, and information to effectively plan trips throughout the city using SDOT's real-time travelers information map. Construction will include the following tasks: demolition and trenching through street intersections and sidewalks to install electrical conduits, the signal dynamic message sign foundation and pole work, installation of the new ADA compliant curb ramps, and associated pavement restoration. Work will be done along Denny Way at each signalized intersection beginning at Western Avenue. To minimize impacts, most work will be done during off-peak hours at night and weekends only. During construction, you can expect dust, noise, and vibration, sidewalk closures with pedestrian detours, advance notification to businesses and residents of driveway closures. But during all of this, business access will be maintained. Adjacent trees will be protected during construction and any disturbed vegetation will be restored. Off-peak traffic restrictions and detours will be used as necessary, and temporary pavement surfaces and steel plates will be installed on the roadway as needed as well. In order to minimize impacts, we're committed to working closely with the project neighbors during construction and will be available for questions. We will also provide advance notice during construction through email updates and other promotional materials. We will ensure project signage is clear and effective to encourage safety and caution near active work zones. The best way to stay informed about the latest construction news is to sign up for our project email updates. Also, please visit our webpage to subscribe, and that link is www.seattle.gov/transportation/Denny ITS. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact us. Our email is dennyits@seattle.gov, or we have a project phone number at 206-257-2243. Construction is scheduled to begin as soon as the middle of November of 2021. Our initial activities will include mobilizing equipment, staging materials, and some demolition at the intersection of Denny and Western. There will also be some saw cutting and potholing for utility exploration done as well. Thank you for your time today. To learn more about the project, again, please visit the webpage listed here and sign up to receive the email updates. And again, if you have questions, please feel free to contact us at any time at this email address and phone number. Thank you.
We're now moving on to the Q&A portion of our presentation. Thanks to all of you who have submitted questions in the Q&A box so far. My name is Kayla Ravancho, and I am supporting the outreach team and will be your Q&A moderator this evening. This first question is for Ching, and the question asks, who is funding the project?
Thanks, Kayla. This project is funded in part by the 9-year Levy to Move Seattle. It was approved by voters in 2015. It is also in part funded by the Federal Highway Administration. Using ITS is a very cost-effective way for us to optimize transportation operations without investing in large projects to modify infrastructure. Thank you.
Thanks, Ching. This next question is for Josh, and the question asks, how will access to my business be maintained during construction?
Thank you. Yeah, when we plan detours, traffic closures, and alternative walking and biking routes, the project team considers business access and multimodal needs of the traveling public. One of our priorities is to notify businesses in advance of work and to mitigate any potential impacts as much as possible. We always want to maintain access to the businesses.
Thank you, Josh. This next question is for Ching. And the question asks, will there be construction activities at Denny Park?
Thank you. This project will include construction activities at the southeast corner of Denny Way, or Denny Park, sorry, which is located at the Denny Way and 9th Ave North intersection. It's part of the Seattle Parks and Rec property, but the activities will include installation of a new accessible pedestrian signal, push button. So the push buttons that you see at intersections now. It's going to be on a 4.5 foot high push button post. So it's not very tall. We'll also be replacing an existing signal cabinet at this location with a new signal cabinet equipped with new service disconnect cabinet. And then we'll also be replacing some curb ramps at this corner and restoration of sidewalk pavement as part of this work. Thank you.
Thank you, Ching. This next question is for Jeremy. And the question asks, what impacts should I expect during construction?
Thanks for that question. The impacts during construction that everyone will feel are dust, noise, vibration, typically construction impacts. There's going to be sidewalk closures, pedestrian detours, lane restrictions on Denny Way and intersecting streets. And generally those lane restrictions are going to be during non-peak hours, as Josh noted in the presentation. So that could be between the hours of 9 a.m. and 3 p.m. On Denny Way and some of the intersecting streets, or a lot of times the restrictions are required to be on the weekends and nights. And then also there's going to be advance notification to businesses and residents of driveway closures. And generally business access will be maintained. And also adjacent trees will be protected during construction, and any disturbed vegetation would be restored. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeremy. This next question, I guess, Jeremy, you might be able to take this. It's somewhat related. Will there be any nighttime or weekend work?
Yes, there will be both nighttime and weekend work. Now, the City of Seattle Department of Construction and Inspections does have a period of quiet hours during the night. So the contractor will have to abide by those hours. And I believe in this business district, or in the Denny Way area, it's 9 p.m. to 7 a.m. on weekdays. So they would, if they did work at night, it would have to be work that is not noisy. Weekend work is generally unrestricted after the hours of 9 a.m. Up to, I believe, 9 p.m. So there will be a lot of weekends, especially at the signalized intersections on the corridor.
Thank you. This next question is for Josh. And the question asks, will there be signage in the area to help with detour routes and business access?
Thank you. Yes, signage will be placed in the active construction zones and in the surrounding project areas. If there's any questions or feedback about the signage once work begins, please feel free to email the outreach team at dot_dennyits@seattle.gov or call us at the phone number given 206-257-2243.
Great, thank you. This next question is for Ching. And this attendee would like to know, how do we access the slides after the webinar?
Thank you. That's a very good question. We have that pre-recorded presentation and we'll be putting it on our project webpage probably within the next week. We also will be recording or transcribing this Q&A session. The Q&A session may take a little bit longer to be uploaded onto a webpage, but you can also look for this Q&A transcription on our webpage. I want to say in the next 2 to 3 weeks. Thank you.
Thank you, Ching. This next question I will kick to Josh. You can start us off and maybe you can call on some of your teammates. The question asks, are these improvements one of the city's efforts to address the influx of traffic to and from the Climate Pledge Arena? If yes, will the city's DOT use ongoing analytics to adjust the traffic light sequencing?
Thank you. Yeah, excellent question. It has a few multiple parts in it, so I'll try and break it up. This project was planned a long time ago because of Denny Way heavy use in the east-west corridor. So it was not part of the Climate Pledge Arena. It was planned a long time ago as a suite of other ITS projects. So it's the third one that's being completed under our grant that we have. And then the second part was talking about how it's going to be monitored. Is that correct?
Yeah, the second part is, if yes, will the city's DOT use ongoing analytics to adjust the traffic light sequencing?
So yeah, not technically yes, but that is what the ITS software will be doing. It's going to adjust the cycle signal lengths and timing for all the different modes all in real time. And they're going to be able to use that as these events start to be able to better plan for future events as well, to have a baseline to start from. So it's going to be a very good system being that close to the arena.
Great, thank you, Josh. This next question is construction related. I will kick it to Jeremy. This resident is a retirement, this resident lives at the retirement community at Denny and Fairview. What are you doing to assure a long enough time for challenged seniors to cross the street? All cannot keep the pace that younger, more agile citizens can.
This is a great question. And I have to be honest, I don't know the answer, but we can find out. So it's asking about the phasing, the timing for the walk signal at crosswalks. And that's a good question for our design team. And we don't have a designer here today, but we can certainly follow up.
Yeah, and just to add to that, they usually start with a specified default. So we can definitely give that information back to our engineers, as Jeremy said, so that they can hopefully start with a little bit higher pedestrian crossing time at that location. So thanks.
Yes, thank you both. This next question, I think, Jeremy, you answered a little bit earlier, but if you could just repeat it.
Yeah.
Do we know what the noisy times of work will be? And yet this resident would just appreciate if we have exact times that we can share.
Right now, we don't have, thank you for the question. Right now, we don't have specific times from the contractor that are going to be noisy, but generally the noisy times will be during the day. So as I mentioned earlier, a lot of the work on Denny Way and on intersecting streets is restricted to non-peak hours. So peak hours generally being 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. and then in the afternoon from 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. So there could be some midday weekday work, also evening work during the week. And then on weekends, noisy work is generally restricted to the hours of 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. So any of those hours are generally considered fair game for contractors, but we work with them to make sure that they're not impacting the public negatively. Thank you.
Thanks, Jeremy. A follow-up question to that question is for outreach. What's the best way to get notified about work ahead of time? Is there an email update we can sign up for? Is there a webpage, et cetera?
Thank you for that question. That's a great question. Yes, there is a way to sign up for to receive email updates. We will be sending out, once we begin construction, we will be sending out construction related information and updates regularly. So please feel free to go onto our webpage, and I will acknowledge that there was some technical challenges that we were experiencing earlier on, where there wasn't a button on our project webpage to subscribe, but that has been fixed. And also our email is working properly now. So feel free to shoot us an email or just go ahead and go on our webpage and subscribe to be added to our email listserv. Thank you.
Thank you. And this next question, I'll kick to Josh first, but you might want to loop in Jeremy. It's asking about how construction will proceed and if it's going to proceed west to east, east to west. Will it be phased? Will it be segmented? They would like more information.
Yeah, thank you for that question. And we have had meetings with our contractor and they've informed us that they will start west to east. And I'll turn it over now to Jeremy to provide some more detail.
Yeah, thanks, Josh. They did say that they're sequencing the project generally west to east. We haven't seen their critical path method schedule quite yet, so we don't know the specifics. But they did agree that that's generally how they're going to proceed. And as far as phased, yes, they will have several crews who are doing work concurrently. So my guess would be that they're working at 2 or 3 intersections at a time with underground work. So they'll do a lot of the electrical conduit install, drainage install, and of course they'll have a civil crew for demolition of concrete, pavement, that kind of stuff. So they'll sort of phase their work and send one crew to each location to complete the work, and then they'll do restoration on the heel end. And so that's what we expect this time. Thank you.
Thank you both. This next question, I will kick to Jeremy first, but you might want to loop Josh in. The question asks, how has SDOT adjusted its planned use of adapted signals on Denny Way after the previous rollout of that technology on Mercer Street?
Thank you. That's a great question. And I'm going to punt that one to Josh.
Yeah, thank you. I actually did. I talked to our project owner this morning and talked about how things went on Mercer, and they are implementing the lessons learned from that corridor. They know now to adjust the signal length to accommodate all the different modes that are using this corridor. So you should see a very efficient path, whether you're driving, biking, walking, however you're going to use the corridor, it should be very efficient.
Thank you. This next question I will read aloud, and then we can figure out tag team who wants to jump in. This resident, when they drive from 2nd and Broad to I-5 northbound, Google Maps tells this driver to take Denny to Fairview instead of over to Mercer to get on I-5? What, if anything, will change along Mercer to support Denny closures? Jeremy or Josh, you want to jump in?
Yeah, I can start. So until we see the actual detour routes that the contractor is planning on using, I don't think we have any specifics to alternate corridors. But again, I'll kind of touch on the Traffic Operations Center will be available to our project to monitor specific movements and the signal timing so that they're going to be aware of when we have detours in place and be able to adjust the signal timing to hopefully smooth that flow of traffic.
Yes, and I'll just jump in to say that Josh's statement there is correct. Traffic operations will know when we have detours in place. That's something that construction management team will do, coordinate detours so that they know in real time when our project is closing intersections, closing streets. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you both. This next question is about the timeline for construction. What is the estimated start and end date?
So I can jump in and take that one. I believe Josh mentioned in the presentation that the contractor is expected to do some light work between now and the end of this year. So that being utility verification, potholing, saw cutting, activities like that, that'll be fairly low impact. They will mobilize their crews beginning in January is what they've told us at this point. So we expect construction to start in earnest January and to last about a 9-month duration. So we should be substantially complete by about September of 2022. Thank you.
Thank you. This next question is for Ching, and then Ching, you might want to call on others as well. This attendee would like to know, once we sign up for email updates, how soon before we get notified of road closures? Our business entrance is on 9th and Denny.
Thank you for that question. We actually, before we get started with the groundbreaking or the construction, we will be coming out to talk to especially businesses. I know due to the pandemic, not a lot of businesses may, or hours of operation may have changed, but we do want to get in touch with businesses and offices and also residential properties to notify them of any work that will be impacting or adjacent to their access. I think none of our work will close off access to businesses, but we do want to give them a heads up on what to expect. And we generally try to give folks at least a week to 2. It's a constant pull and push between our team and our contractors, but we try to push and advocate for at least a week of notice. And so you can expect that to happen for, I think, our upcoming work probably. I think you'll probably see more work happening in early December while we have some surveying kind of lighter touches happening in mid-November. But we will be in touch probably in person, doing some door-to-door with some of the businesses and property managers. I would also ask if folks that are in attendance today, if you don't mind dropping your name and contact with us, with your contact information, whether it's phone number or email address, so then that way we can follow up. I know we have a list of contacts that we can pull from previous projects, nearby projects, but it would be great if we have your contacts, or if you can connect with us with apartment building managers or whatnot. That way we can reach a broader audience. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Josh or Jeremy, anything to add before I move on? No. Okay, great. This next question, I'll give this one to you first, Josh. And the question asks, What kind of models were used when developing the ITS plan? Are there other cities using this kind of system? Is it being used in any other part of the city?
Yeah, excellent question. So the modeling was done before my time on the project. I think part of the larger overall city network. And I can't say for certain, but they probably used Synchro or Vissim on it. Like I said, this project has been in the works for a long time and has been delayed while funding was able to catch up to it. And again, yeah, the cycle signal lengths will be adjusted to accommodate different volumes, both from the traffic point of view and pedestrians and bikes. So the Traffic Operations Center will continue to manage that in real live time. And what was the second part?
Second part is it being used in any other part of the city?
Yes, so as we've hit on a little bit earlier, it is being used on Mercer Street, and the other phases of the Center City Gateway were on First Avenue and Michigan Street. So the city has a lot of experience with the Scoot system. That's the name of the software that's used, and it is being used in other cities as well. So the city of Seattle is quite familiar with it, and this was the preferred alternative.
Great, thank you. This next question may also be for you, Josh, but Jeremy, feel free to jump in. We have two similar questions, so I'll read them both, and then you can think about it. And then one of you, maybe Josh, you kick us off. The first question is, what is the expected impact of adaptive signals for pedestrians crossing the corridor during the post-event, quote, garage flush, quote, at Climate Pledge Arena? That's the first question. And the second related question is, how will adaptive signals affect pedestrian crossing times near the arena after events? Are the signals programmed with maximum cycle times?
Yeah, I can touch on a little bit of that. As I mentioned before, I talked with the program owner a little bit more about how the Scoot system operates. And when it goes into place, it will be recording those large events and the different volumes, both of pedestrians and vehicles and bicycles, so that they'll be able to plan ahead for other future events when they do have those large volume demands. So I don't think we can really say today, besides knowing that the cycle signal lengths will be set to best accommodate those movements in the future. So I don't know if Jeremy, if you have anything else to add there.
I think you got it.
Great, thank you. And if there are any follow-up questions to your questions, please feel free to drop them in the chat. This next question is for Jeremy. And the question asks, are there contingencies should the construction companies discover any potential historically significant artifacts during their dig?
Generally, yes. I would say that right now, from what I understand in the project documents, we don't expect any historically significant discoveries. We just aren't going to be excavating very deep. Most of the conduit crossings are going to be about a 3 to 4 foot depth excavation. So we don't necessarily expect it, but of course in construction, we often have things happen that we don't expect. So yes, there are contingencies should that occur. And if we were to uncover anything that appears historically significant, then we have an environmental team who is on call, and we would contact them to come out and assess what we found. And if we need to, we could pretty quickly contract with an archaeologist as well. And generally they'll come out and do documentation before anything is further disturbed. Thank you.
Thanks, Jeremy. This next question is for Josh. And the question asks, how do you detect pedestrians?
So we're installing the APS push buttons, the automated pedestrian signal, so that they'll be able to put a call in by pressing that button and telling the traffic signal that they're there.
Great, thank you. This next question is for Jeremy. And the question asks, who is the contractor? If procured by bidding, was the contractor significantly below number 2?
So the contractor is Titan Earthworks, and they've done work within the city of Seattle and other local municipalities for several years now. I think they've been around since 2007. I've never personally worked with them, but I've heard great things from a lot of my colleagues. They have a good reputation and are generally a contractor who's easy to work with, and they look out for the public as well. I don't recall, Josh, do you, about how, I don't believe that they were significantly below the second bid. I think that it was a pretty competitive bid.
Yeah, it was. We had, I think, a handful of bidders, and there were a few very high outliers, but yeah, we had, I think, 3 right within the very similar range of one another, which gave a lot of confidence to our engineer's estimate as well.
Yeah, I want to say it was within a margin of 1% or 2.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you both. This next question is for Ching. And the question is asking, what is the best way to be added to an email list for updates?
Thank you for that question. I will go ahead and share again. If you can go onto our webpage on the, which is www.seattle.gov/transportation/Denny ITS. You'll be able to see on the right panel, on the top right panel, there is a subscribe now button. If you click on that button, you'll get added to our listserv, and we will be sending out construction updates on a regular basis. We'll also try to update our project webpage with similar information, maybe a little bit simplified since we don't want to clutter our webpage, but you'll also be able to find that information on our webpage. Thank you.
Thank you, Ching. And we have our tech support dropping our information in the chat as well, so you can access it that way. If you'd like to skip a step and have our team, the outreach team, add you, you can direct message us here on Zoom, and we will go ahead and add you. This next question is for Josh to kick us off. And the question is asking, will any intersections have automatic pedestrian recall installed since the location is within an urban center?
There too, I'd have to confirm with our traffic engineers, but yeah, I think there would be that minimum pedestrian recall entered in, but I will definitely follow up on that and we'll get that posted to the website.
Great, thank you, Josh. This next question is for Ching, but Ching, feel free to tap on others to come in. The question asks, how do ITS tools work?
Thank you for that. The ITS system, I think it's not actually visible to our average user because everything is underground, all the conduits. But what it does is it improves safety for people walking, biking, driving, and rolling. So really for all users. It also reduces congestion during peak hours. That's a big win for us. And also it helps travelers effectively plan for their trips throughout the city. They have a better expectation and they know what to anticipate in terms of timing on their trips, no matter what mode of transportation they use. Josh, I don't know if you have anything else to add.
That was good, thanks.
Thanks, Ching. This next question, I'll give to Jeremy. I think you answered this, and this participant said that they joined late. When is construction going to begin, and how long will it last?
Yeah, thank you for the question. So we expect that the contractor is going to do some light works between now and the end of the year, probably in December. And those light works are going to be activities such as potholing or utility verification and saw cutting. And then come January, we expect the early part of January, they will do a full mobilization to the corridor and begin construction in earnest. And the contract has 175 working days, which is essentially 9 months. So we expect by September 2022, Q3, that the project will be substantially complete. And then after that, there might be some lingering activities through the end of the year, but very low impact beyond that point. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeremy. This next question is also for you. And the question asks, which improvements are part of this project?
Thank you for that question. So the project, as we've covered, is going to be installing a lot of pedestrian improvements, APS push buttons, and that includes a lot of electrical conduit installation. So there's going to be a lot of trenching, and before you trench, you have to demolish pavement, sidewalks at intersections, and even in the street. There's going to be drainage improvements at several of the intersections. There's going to be a new dynamic message sign that's going to be installed near the Wells Fargo around 3rd and Denny. Lots of ADA compliant curb ramps are going to be installed as part of the project. And then, of course, pavement restoration, lots of new sidewalks. And I think that about covers it, unless I missed anything, Josh.
Yeah, I'd just add we have traffic signal cabinets as part of our project as well. So there's 6 intersections within our study area that are going to get brand new traffic signal cabinets and equipment to be able to run our Scoot software.
Thank you. I will read this next question, and then maybe Josh, you can kick us off. The question is, since adaptive signals will be able to detect demand and adapt automatically, does that mean there will be no need for traffic control police after arena events?
Yeah, thanks for that question. And again, as the arena is now open, I think there's going to be a lot of recording during those large events. So you could still see uniformed officers controlling different intersections. That was one of the items that the project owner discussed with me this morning. Was the Scoot system is very good throughout the day at adjusting signal timing, giving it to the heavier movements. But during the events, those are still very unique and going to require some getting used to and probably some adjustments as different events occur.
Great, thank you, Josh. This next one is also for you. The question asks, will trees be removed as a part of this project?
Yeah, thanks. So we do have our urban forestry as part of our stakeholder group. We do have 1 tree located on the southwest corner of Denny and Fairview that will be marked for removal because it's the only spot that we were able to find for the traffic signal cabinet. So we'll work with property owners within that area and urban forestry to find a replacement location for that tree.
Thanks, Josh. This next question is for Jeremy. And the question asks, why is SDOT doing this project right now?
Thank you for that question. So I think Josh hit on this earlier. I'll do my best here. Denny Way experiences some of the city's heaviest traffic volumes, and to reduce congestion, The project will upgrade traffic signals and pedestrian push buttons along Denny Way between Western and Minor.
Great, thank you. This next question is a continuing for Ching, and is asking a follow-up about what are intelligent transportation systems?
Intelligent transportation systems, or ITS, I think, as we have stated earlier, is a suite of technology tools that we use at Department of Transportation to improve the way people use or move through the corridor, especially corridors of high traffic volume. This includes upgrading traffic signals and connecting. I think if we think about how, like, I think one way that I think about how I would describe it is if you have smart technology in your home, is connecting all the wiring so that it can adapt to user, I guess, your behaviors, if you will. So that's really what an ITS is to be adaptive to what's happening and how users are using the corridor, and making it more predictable and reliable. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Ching. This follow-up question, I'll kick it to Josh and get Ching off the hook for ITS. Josh, the question's asking, how exactly do the ITS tools work? Maybe you covered this earlier, but if you could just refresh.
Yeah, definitely. So there will be some type of monitoring system out there, and we're going to be using, again, loops within the pavement to detect vehicles, and the push buttons for pedestrians to hit. And the loops also pick up bicycles as well. So they're going to gather that information and then be able to feed it directly into the traffic signal cabinet. And that data will be sent back to our traffic operations center so that they'll be able to see the exact number of vehicles, pedestrians, and bikes that are using a particular movement, and be able to adjust the cycle signal length and time for whichever movement is heaviest. So as we've kind of touched on, the civil improvements that you'll see out there with the ADA ramps and sidewalk are going to be the visual stuff, but otherwise, when you're out there using the corridor, you're not going to really see anything physical, but you'll just be able to hopefully experience the smoother operation of the system and be able to get to where you're needing to go quicker.
Great, thank you, Josh. This next question is for Jeremy. And the question is asking, where is the project area located, and will you be impacting any of the nearby neighboring streets?
Thanks for that question. So the project is located on Denny Way between Western and Minor, and work will occur at most, not all, of the intersections between those two, Western and Minor. Several of the signalized intersections. And then there will be some smaller pieces of work that occur on some of the intersecting streets within, say, 100 to 200 feet of Denny Way. What comes to mind is conduit installation if our service is off Denny Way and on one of the side streets. So that certainly will occur. Thank you.
Thank you. Another one for you, actually, about construction. What is the most impactful work, and what types of activities does it include?
So impactful work, a lot of people think of demolition, breaking concrete is pretty noisy and messy. So demolition, saw cutting, that will certainly happen on the project. There, a lot of times on downtown corridors when we're doing excavation, the contractor needs to use a vacuum excavator or Vector truck because there are a lot of utilities, and Vector truck is just the easiest way to excavate around existing utilities. So you're going to see Vector trucks. There's going to be steel plates covering trenches for periods before pavement is restored. And then, there's just generally going to be lane restrictions, sidewalk closures and pedestrian detours generally on weekends and off-peak hours. There will be some detours over the course of the project. Thanks.
Thank you, Jeremy. This next question I will kick to Josh first. And the question is multi-part. So the question asks, will there be parking impacts? Does the contractor have a staging area, and where will they park contractor vehicles and other materials and such?
Yeah, so I can start with the beginning and then turn it over to Jeremy. So we know there's not a lot of parking present along Denny Way itself. So there won't be a lot to impact there along the main part of the corridor. There is quite a bit on the side streets though. So we're going to be cognizant of that and make sure that we sign it when we know that part of it has to be used for construction, whether that's part of the detour route or just rechannelization to get the construction done. Yeah, and I'll turn it over to Jeremy to kind of talk a little bit about the contractors parking and their methodologies.
Yeah, usually the contractor is parking within the work zone in work trucks. I'm not talking about personal vehicles. Personal vehicles are not supposed to be on the job site or on intersecting streets. So usually they're commuting in work trucks and parking in a restricted lane. Staging was also asked about. This contractor will need staging. We don't know yet where staging will occur, but it will occur pretty close to the active work zone. And so we'll work with the contractor to make sure that we're staging in an area that is low impact to the public. Thank you.
I'll also add, thank you, Jeremy and Josh. I'll also add that once we do have an idea or know from the contractor where they're going to be staging, our outreach team will reach out to adjacent property owners and neighbors to just let them know what to expect and anticipate. One more thing to add to that is that because we're working on the entire corridor, it will be a rolling staging. So we won't be staying in one area for like 9 months, the duration of the project. We may be staying in each location for maybe a month, maybe a couple more weeks than a month. But that's just to let you know that that's kind of dynamic. Thank you.
Thank you all. This next question I'll give to Josh first. And the question asks, how will the adaptive signals be used to prioritize transit?
Yeah, thank you for that. And I can follow up with our traffic engineers, but again, the buses will be detected by whether it's a pavement loop or a camera, depending on which intersection it's being detected at. And again, that information will be recorded and used to better program the cycle signal links for the future. So that's kind of how I know right now, but we'll be able to get more information on that and post it on our website.
Great, thank you. I think we have time for one more question. These have been great questions so far, so thank you all for participating. The question is, how was the design determined? And I'll give you that one again, Josh.
Yeah, so again, this project was part of several other ITS areas that were identified as part of the Center City Gateway program. So they looked to install different ITS elements at the 3 different areas that were identified. And again, with Denny Way's use and heavier volumes of vehicles and pedestrians, it was identified for being upgraded as part of this program. And that's where we looked at the narrowing in the project limits and seeing what could be done at each intersection to implement that.
Thank you. I think that is all the time we have for questions. So I will give the mic back to Ching to close us out, and I will pull up our contact slide one more time so you can jot down our information.
Thank you very much, Kayla. Thank you for helping us moderate the questions. And thank you, everyone. I want to thank you again for joining us this late afternoon, early evening, making time to join us and learn more about the project, as well as raise questions that you have about it and about the construction work itself. It was a pleasure to engage with you all. We hope that we've answered your questions, but this is not the end of it. Please feel free to email us, continue to email us if you have additional questions that were not answered or that comes up after today's session. Yeah, we will, again, this session was recorded, and so we will be putting up the slide deck, the PowerPoint presentation, the pre-recorded presentation that we shared earlier in today's session. We'll be showing that on our, or posting that on our project webpage, which is listed here. Denny, yes, our web link is here, so you can get that down. We'll also be uploading a transcription of today's question and answer session on our project webpage, probably in 2 to 3 weeks time, as we do need to transcribe it. But yeah, feel free to contact us if you have any additional thoughts or questions, or go ahead and subscribe to our project listserv online. Thank you.